Yay! Welcome everyone to Opening the Bedroom Doors. We will be talking and indulging in satisfying and identifying our needs in this interview. And first, to satisfy our needs, we're going to put on some sexy music. I asked Tiffany. Tiffany is our guest for the day. I asked Tiffany, what's a song that is sexy right now for you? And so this is it, and I agree. So do a little boogie, get into your body. This is a moment to put pleasure first, and then we will continue. One question, maybe.
Oh, I don't hear you now.
There we go. It went into my headphones first. I like this. This makes you snap.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm ready now. I ain't gonna fall back now. Alright, I took it on, my baby. Alright, I hit the ass, you're gonna be my lover. Tonight, we'll take it with me. If I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they call your hands, baby, never mind. If I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they call your hands, baby, never mind. If I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they call your hands, baby, never mind.
Okay. That was lovely. I love what that did to my hips. That made my hips start writing in cursive. That was yummy. Thank you.
So yummy.
Okay. Yum. Welcome, everyone. If you're new to Opening the Bedroom Doors, this is a interview series where we are diving into topics that are usually kept behind closed doors. Hence the name. So I am a sex coach, and I often hear in my private practice, people will reveal that they don't know what other people are doing. Therefore, they don't know what exists, and they don't know what their desires are. So this is your opportunity to understand what's going on and what you can possibly try on for fulfillment, for sexual pleasure. And so today we are talking about that, satisfying and identifying your needs, because that is one of the first building blocks to having sexual fulfillment. In my private practice, I privately guide women and couples to create mind-blowing sexual experiences that lead to more connection, fulfillment, and an ecstatic life. And today we have Tiffany with us. And Tiffany is a former client of mine who I asked to be here today to show you what's possible. Now, Tiffany, do you know who Roger Bannister is? Okay. Roger Bannister is, in the 1940s, was the person that ran the 4-minute mile. And before accomplishing that, everyone was like, it's not possible. No. And Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile, and that year, 20 people did the same. And so Tiffany is my very own Roger Bannister, who has paved a way of what's possible. And I want to have Tiffany here to share what's possible in your sex life and to inspire you. So Tiffany, will you just introduce yourself to everyone of what you do and who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Tiffany Thoen, and my profession, I'm an intuitive eating coach, and I'm also a nurse. So I spent years working at the hospital and kind of compartmentalizing, a lot. And while I was fulfilled in helping people, I really was, not the life I wasn't living the life I really wanted. I also was in a long-term monogamous relationship, and so I found Jessie. I found you when I was first coming out of that relationship, and I really I didn't want to get stuck in the same patterns. I was like, I don't want to go back, right? And so it was kind of divine timing. I think I saw you comment on something on Facebook, like in a entrepreneur group or something. I was like, I got to know her.
Yay!
Yeah. So, so I'm here because you've just had such an impact in my life, and I definitely have so much more like sexual satisfaction than I really even thought was possible.
Yay! Yay! For people that are here with us live, I can see you, but I would love to know that you're here. So comment in the chat, engage with us. I love whenever questions come up, and notice what shows up for you regarding this topic of like, how can I become more sexually fulfilled, satisfied? What are my needs to begin with? So Tiffany, how did you begin to even identify what your needs were?
Well, so part of my work as an intuitive eating coach is really to become more attuned with our bodies. And through that process, I really started to recognize that I didn't feel, super satisfied, but I really didn't know what was possible. So that's one of the reasons I'm excited to be in this group, because maybe I can help somebody else, right? But I just kind of listen to that pull now, right? So like, I really love adventure. And even if I'm just like walking down the street and I see like an alleyway, that I'm like, ooh, what's down there, right? So I started really
love a mysterious alleyway.
So much goodness sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's a little, sketchy, but and so, so I got really lucky. You happened to, we connected on Facebook, and then you happened to send me, I said, I'm not ready yet. I'm still like processing this separation, and, the divorce wasn't finalized at that point, but I knew that I wanted it at some point. And you said, well, I have this, blueprint, find your sexual blueprint thing happening on Valentine's Day. And I was like, like the first single Valentine's Day, like how cool would it be to go do something like that? And it was at this really cool sex positive club. And so I went by myself and seeing like the blueprints being tested out on people, I was immediately enamored. I was like, okay, I want to know like what really feels good to me, because I'd had the experience of like trying things out that like in theory, like the fantasy of it was so much better than like in real life. And things had just been so shut down for so long that I really felt like I needed some support there, and to start to see what's really possible.
Beautiful. So I hear that listening like within was one of the things that really helped guide you to, which I hear that often, is like, first I have to listen to what is even being called out or said in my own intuition or mind. Yeah. And then as well as seeing like what's possible from someone else. And when you said that you went to the workshop, I just want to clarify something, because you said that you went to the erotic blueprint workshop and you saw like people getting touched or something like that. And I want to clarify for people that are like, wait, what was pre-COVID?
Yeah. This was a year ago. This was a year ago. It was right before. I got so lucky to go to it. You do them online, and I have attended some of your online stuff, and it's so fun because you can be in your own space, right? So you can actually like try things out on yourself, whereas at the club, like obviously you're not going to be doing a lot of that, It's more observing.
Yes.
But yeah, so pre-COVID, it was safe, people.
Yes. And I just want you to know that like, if you ever come to one of my workshops, like I'm never I think what Tiffany is referring to is a demonstration where I take someone who has decided that they would like to be turned on in front of the rest of the group. We've gone over boundaries. We've done a whole safety protocol. They know exactly what they're agreeing to. It is partially clothed. And I then test all of the different array of sensations, touch, and toys on that person's body. And then through a game that I teach you, we measure what amount of pleasure and arousal is like pumping through their body because of that stimulus.
It was so fun to hear you say pleasure and arousal pumping through their body. Like, I volunteer.
Yes. Oh, it's been really fun to have that demo be with you just reminded me of like the friend that I do it on now because of COVID. She is like, I'm single and I am touch deprived and like I have sex with myself. And like, it's so nice to be platonically pleasured in a sense, like by your friend. So, okay, sidetrack. And okay, so we talked about how you identified your needs. And then I'm curious, after you listened within and you saw what was possible, what are some other seeds that were created that led to satisfying those things?
Yeah. So I think the thing that brings those two pieces together is really curiosity, and that like curiosity is also part of my work. And it's something that I've always been a really curious person. And so realizing that I just needed to apply that to my sex life was so helpful. And then of course, having like your encouragement around like, well, you could try this or you could try that. Right. And really to come at it from a place of like playfulness and curiosity, so that there wasn't that pressure of like, okay, I have to do this one, like a scene or something, right? Like we talk about in the kink world, or I have to, it has to all just be just right. Or like if I'm playing with a partner, like we laugh and it's really just like, hey, let's try this thing and like see what happens, right? And that has led to some really incredible experiences, and it's led to like really knowing myself so much better. Yeah, so good.
Okay, can we talk about some of those experiences?
Yes, we can.
I just have to say that Tiffany is someone that when we would have our sessions, like my jaw would be like, excuse me? Like Tiffany's stories were then inspiring my sex life. So really, really rewarding work is what I'm saying. And so I'm curious, specifically, like the things that you were like, I didn't even know that this was possible.
Yeah. I feel like one of the biggest, so like alone wise, there were definitely like, okay, how can I pull in these different blueprints? Because I was really comfortable with like sensuality, but like energetic, I felt like was something that was really significant for me, but maybe I wasn't as tapped into, or kink stuff was a little bit like I wasn't really sure how to access that, especially alone. So I started out this work single, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I ended up like not single, so I could, like play even more. But it's definitely something you can do by yourself. And so like I remember one day using actually, this is so funny, Jessie. This is like, we had these conversations. Like I realized like a lot of my kink is like psychological. And so it's like anything new or taboo, right? So for a while I was just like, what can I do that's just like different? And I remember like one time I was like, not my normal stuff was not working for me. And I got in the shower and like that wasn't doing it for me. And then I got on my knees and I was like, oh, this is really hot. Like just being on my knees, right? Or like one time I was like self-pleasuring and I just used a crystal that I had, and that like totally did it for me, right? And so it was like pulling in like, what can I, with what I have here already, like what can I pull in, and how can I make this like novel and different? And so for those of you who know the shapeshift or the blueprints, I like was discovering I'm a shapeshifter. So I need a lot of like novelty. But I think one of my favorite stories is with a lover. I got mono. This was so terrible. Like I started dating and then I got mono. Such a nightmare. Yeah. Like I was so worried about COVID and like had all these great protocols, and then I ended up with mono. Anyway, from one kiss. I only kissed that person one time. So I couldn't kiss my partner. And we were committed to like finding other ways. And I really enjoy this person's tongue like so much, and like their mouth. And he just like, I was having him like use his hands, which is not something I also enjoy his hands. It's not something that I usually like do with partners. And then he just like started like making out with my ear. Oh my gosh, like it totally, it was like incredible. And so we've discovered like normally we would never, I remember you and I having this session where I was like, what am I going to do? Like, we can't kiss. And you were like, okay, like roll up our sleeves. Like,
I specifically remember you being pissed. Like you were like, what now? Like, great. Like what? Like there was like disappointment. There was some sadness. And then it was like, okay, how do we take that frustration and like get very creative with it? And open up some different boxes for you.
And, so in some ways it was such a gift because now like with that partner, like a lot of our sex like revolves around like kissing and making out. And like, you know, one of the things we discovered in the blueprint testing is like my sides are super erotic zone for me. And so like making out with my sides is like the biggest turn on. And so now with that partner, it's like, okay, like how can we just like amplify this? Like using our mouths to just like how many places like can we, you know, he's like, how many places can I like make out with on your body and like make you finish? Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So good. It's one of my favorite. So having to go like 2 months without kissing someone, like actually though ended up being like it opened up all of these other, we had to be super creative and open up all these other options.
Okay, so in that I hear that like with a lover, you were kind of blocked in a sense, which created new avenues. Like you had to think outside the box. You had this obstacle of like, okay, no mouth kissing, and is it like no saliva? Like
saliva, it's saliva and fluids. So like so like no oral sex, no like kissing. I mean,
that was the frustration. I remember that being like, no.
I was like, so we tried, you know, you talked about like the saran wrap thing. So we had we tried that and there was some cool parts to it, but it also opened up some other things for us, but like kept sucking this saran into his mouth. And so we were like, abort.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't working.
Yeah.
But we tried so many things and it was super fun. And I think that's the thing is like that playfulness and that curiosity and like, well, what can we do with this? And actually like the mouth thing, you had me do a pleasure first one time where we were pulling in all the sensory input. And you had me like roll my tongue around in my mouth. Oh man, I was like, that's so hot. Like I really am into that.
Can we pause and just anyone that's tuning in can do it with us as well?
Yeah, let's do
it. Yes. Okay. So pleasure first, by the way, is something that in my private sessions and just in life, it's something that we're trying to always put pleasure first, since that is often always put last. And it's a way of relaxing, dropping in, and tuning into pleasure. So we'll practice pleasure first right now. So maybe close your eyes so you can kind of like focus. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. A few more deep breaths. Notice the smells going in and out your nose. Now switch your awareness to what you hear and maybe the sound of your breath. Notice the colors and the patterns behind your eyelids. What do you see? And just being present with what you see. Now tune into all of the touch on your body, the clothing, the textures, the surface that you are on. Become very present with all of that touch. Great. And now tune into taste. What do you taste in your mouth? What textures do you feel as you move your tongue around in your mouth? So just gently caressing your teeth, under your tongue, the roof of your mouth. The front side of your teeth. Your cheeks. And your lips. Great. Resting your mouth. Now take a deep breath in, and we're going to try to bring in awareness of all of these senses together. So try to taste, smell, touch, feel. I'm losing track of all these because now my mouth is just drooling. So sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch all at the same time. So deep breath in. And you can open your eyes when you feel ready, and maybe type in the chat what you noticed from that or what you feel like now. My eyelids feel glued shut. And I feel very present, very aware, very relaxed. What do you feel, Tiffany?
Yeah, I definitely feel more present, more relaxed, more kind of like in my body, sensual. Like it's like a really like beautiful, like low key arousal.
I love that. Just like low key arousal. Yes. Yeah. I feel that as well. Just very like mellow, cool, calm, grounded. I see it in you too. I see the low key arousal. Okay. I'm checking in with the comments. People said, happy to be here. Awesome questions. What are my sexual needs? What is satisfying for me? They said curiosity is sexy. They also said, definitely want to experience sexual pleasure and arousal pumping through my body. Have just put this all off, yet the midbrain remains. Want to be more whole overall. Yum. I see. LOL, good for you. Not getting stuck just because kissing wasn't on the table. That's a big deal. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a huge celebration.
I literally said to my partner, like, if you just like don't want to hang out or whatever, they were like, what are you talking about? I was like, we can't kiss. Like, I just felt like that just like ruined everything for him. Like, I had to throw a little fit and like have a little grief about it. And then anyway, I really appreciate your support during that time. And then, yeah, it just really encouraged us to like, okay, well, if this is off the table, right? And actually, it's funny, it inspired a couple of things like for later too. Like, it's actually a blessing in disguise. So like now, a lot of times when we are having, just like penetrative sex, we'll like just be totally kissing the whole time. And that is enough to like, for me to climax. And I would have never, like from kissing, like I would have never thought. And now I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like we had a night one time that was just like no talking, no kissing, like just like a total booty call, like come over and like only like let's just have like sex, like oral sex, and then like penetrative sex, and like that's it. And then I just go home. And it was like, it was the best. And so sometimes when you take things off the table, like, cause you just kind of have your like standard things, right? And we get stuck in those ruts. And for me, what I discovered, it was that curiosity and that pull of like, I know there's something more, I'm just not sure what, right? And so that's why I wanted to get support around it. And so glad I did.
And you're a pleasure crusader.
Yeah, now I'm totally all about, somebody said something about like, I want to be whole. And that's the thing is I feel like I was compartmentalizing so much for so long. And my life just really required that of me. And so now I'm building a life where like, all of me can be fully present, and I felt like my sexuality was an area that I really hadn't, I'd like embraced all of these other pieces of me and healed my relationship with food and, all of that, and really started doing work that I absolutely love, and, started adventuring more and all of those things. But when it came to sex, it was like, still just kind of like stuck in status quo land. And it didn't feel honoring of me as a whole person.
I remember specifically in the beginning, you were like, I'm in a healing phase of my sexuality and I don't want to be here.
I was so frustrated about the phases. Yeah, and I felt like I was never going to get out of the healing phase. Yeah. I did for the spoiler alert. Like
you did come out of it?
Yeah, I totally came out of the healing phase when my body was ready, right? And like yeah, and now I'm totally in the adventure phase, or what did it remind me what the
there's the adventurous phase that you're definitely in. You're in transformational, having these like sexual experiences where you're like, what just happened? Like, what are we still on this planet? Like, am I still in this body? And very curious. Yeah. I also hear that like along your journey to satisfaction, you kind of like, you had to let go of a lot of things as well. Like letting go of an attachment to where you're at exactly, so that you could move beyond that, as well as like letting go of like what sex is or like looked like at one time. And like that orgasm can be present, and orgasm isn't like the whole goal. The goal is like exploration, creativity, novelty is the thing that gets you in variety. And so when all of that is fulfilled, it's like, great. Everything's coming. It's all great.
Yeah. So that's such a great point. Like I remember actually the saran wrap night, I had texted my partner like, hey, I want to do these like, and there was like 7 things that I was like, okay, I want to try this, and I want to try this, and I want to try this, and I want to try this. And I don't even remember if I had like a traditional like orgasm that night, but I was so satisfied after, like, it was really sweet. He like opened his phone and was like, okay, like, let me make sure that I like got all the things. And it was so like claiming like I want to do these things, and then having someone like be willing to like show up and try them, and then having like the variety and like all it was so great. And I really did. I actually struggled a lot with climaxing it, so I'm polyamorous, so I have like multiple partners. And I was in a monogamous relationship for like 16 and a half years. And so like, even in that relationship, I would sometimes struggle to climax. And so it was really hard transition to like new people and like figuring, and like learning all of these things about my sexuality. And so I did put a lot of pressure on myself around that. And that I would just get in my head, and it would make it a lot harder. And like you were saying, I had ideas about like what sex is. And now I know that sex can totally be somebody making out with your ear and like using their finger to pleasure you. And that like awesome sex, right? Like nothing else has to happen. Like penetration doesn't have to happen, or if it does, like climax doesn't have to happen, or it, and like energetic orgasm, all of that stuff. Like it can be, it's whatever you want it to be, right? And and it's so fun when you can just like open up all the possibility and really. Somebody said, like what was it? Somebody was saying in the comments. Well, now I can't remember, but what it sparked in me was this idea of like, I don't want to make any part of my body bad or wrong. And or like where I'm at even, right? So like you're talking about being in these different phases, or if I don't have an orgasm, or if I like something that doesn't seem like socially acceptable, or if I Yeah. Like I can embrace all of the pieces of me as like important and, like correct. Right. And so,
Ooh, love
yeah,
that.
that's been huge for me.
It sounds like you're talking about like self-love and self-acceptance
Oh
at,
yeah,
at the deepest
absolutely.
core. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like bringing that work, like I did a lot of work around shame and I did a lot of work around like knowing my value and my worth is like
Mm,
constant and non-negotiable and knowing that in my bones. But I feel like I hadn't applied that fully to my sexuality. And so
mm,
it felt like a huge piece of the puzzle in terms of like coming to that place of wholeness.
mhm. Yes. The one thing that you said made me think about creativity. Creativity is, I think, like my word of the year.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
I love that.
and just claimed it. Yes, creativity, living an inspired life.
I love that. You're like,
Is,
I'm claiming it.
I'm doing like the Captain Morgan stance. Because I've been like people are saying they got a word for the year, like maybe I need a word, and really tapping into creativity is something that I feel I need, especially after 2020. And a lesson that I've learned so far is, like you had said, like pressure, was like putting pressure on yourself and pressure for it to look a certain way, feel a certain way, pressuring and shoulds, like
Yeah.
my orgasm should happen if I do this, like sex should have this element, that element, this element, like I should be more turned on right now. All
Mhm.
of those things, when you hear those in your mind, are like, they're thieves of creativity. They
Yeah.
are taking you out of the moment, and in a sense putting you into like a victimhood. Not calling you a victim, but I was just looking into like the archetype of creativity. The opposite or shadow of it is victimhood. When you're like, why am I not? And like, I don't want to. I can't. Um,
Mhm.
so that's just a little thing that I was like, oh, you're talking about that creativity flow, like you just being in the moment, surrendering, and making peace with whatever's showing up is going to add to that pleasure, enjoyment, little sprinkles of magic that come
Sprinkles of
in.
magic.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Uh,
yes, I'll accept those sprinkles of magic.
yeah, wisdom that you're just like, oh my gosh, like there's my idea that I needed to create today rather than
Mhm.
forcing it. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna look in here. Do you have any tips for getting to know what your sexual needs are? I want to explore, but I'm not sure what I like.
Mhm.
I have too many ideas. So Tiffany, if you want to answer like what your
Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
love so the blueprint testing is awesome. Like attend Jessie's blueprint workshop if you haven't already. So many ideas there. But I really like gamifying it and really setting a container so that it's not just like this,
Mhm,
oh, I should be exploring like all the time, right? So like setting
mhm,
the container. So there's the AB game I love. And so that's like in the blueprint testing where you're like, maybe you'll try like a feather on yourself and then you're like, or on someone else or have someone try it on you. And like, do I
mhm,
like the feather? And then you'll try another thing. Do I like this other thing? Like, which one do I like more?
mhm.
Right.
Vanilla
Um,
or chocolate? What ice cream do you like? Like,
yeah.
and then pick and choose and go in that direction.
Yeah. But actually like try it on your body because what you think you like and what you actually like might be two totally different things.
Mhm,
And I think following that poll too of just like, I wonder, and yeah, and not having pressure. Like I find with self pleasure that like if I set out with the like, okay, I have to, have an orgasm, or I have to like self pleasure has to mean like laying in bed, using a toy or has to whatever, right? It has to look like this thing, then it's such a mood killer for me versus if I'm like, okay, put it on the calendar and like I literally from 3 to 4 in the afternoon have like a block in my calendar. Like no one can book with me so that I can just like have pleasure time. And and it's like whatever.
yay.
And a lot of times it looks like dancing around or taking a walk or, simply like stretching, whatever it is. Like it can just be whatever I feel called to do. And sometimes that leads to like, pleasure time in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to. There's no pressure. And so, but having that container is really, really important.
And so for people that are like, what is she talking about? Like a Tupperware container? Like, what do you mean container? Will you explain what you need for a container to feel like, yeah, like let's let go and like no scripts, no shoulds.
Yeah. So container for me is like, being intentional and really being present for yourself in whatever way helps you feel safe to do that exploring. And so for me, I'm a shapeshifter. That means I like all of the, like, I like sensuality. I like energetic. I like a lot of spaciousness and like desire and tease, right? And then I like the kinky stuff, and I like all of it. And so I know that if I'm feeling tense, like I'm going to need to relax in a little bit. I know that if it just feels too like, like go straight for the genitals kind of thing, then I'm like, no, I need that like energetic building, right? So a lot of times for me, the container is about making it a priority, giving myself that time and making sure I have plenty of space, and then following that, like listening to my body about like, where's my body at right now? What do I really need to do to really like drop in and feel pleasure?
Yay. Yum. Okay. So, and I hear that like your container that you have regularly on your calendar is like, what did you like every day, 3 to 4 p.m.? Is that what you said?
Yeah. And I also have a reminder on the calendar for the morning, although the morning time is like generally meditation and journaling and these things. I was having this conversation with someone when I was first dating about pleasure like in the morning. And then we were talking about like pleasure during meditation. And we were both like, why haven't I ever thought of that before? Like I get absolutely like meditation, like why wouldn't it be pleasurable? Like why would it not be allowed to like have pleasure? And so for a while I was like exploring with that. But yeah, I just have that break in my day. And then I have like when I'm with a partner, it's a very, like we try not to be on phones. We do not like watching TV. We try to be really like connected to each other and really spend that time, like quality time together. And so that's another like pleasure time. But usually for me, I need, because of the sensual part, I need like, like I like to shower and like play sexy music beforehand, and like even like, preparing for this, like you guys can't smell me, but I put on perfume. Like,
oh, I wish.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that you put perfume on for yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Right.
And then so for us as well.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the intentionality for me, is like really preparing to be in a place of like receiving pleasure before a date.
How lucky all those people are to be doing it. So wonderful. I want to just inform some people that might be like, wait, what are the erotic blueprints? And like, what are you, where if you're hung up on any of that, these are some things that in this conversation, I was like, okay, a beginner might be a little lost here. So the erotic blueprints are a framework to understand arousal. They're a new discovery in sexuality where there are 5 types of erotic blueprints, and they all have different needs, desires, ways of expression. They have different ways of expressing when they're blocked, and they have like general characteristics. So when Tiffany said that she's a shapeshifter, that means that a shapeshifters want novelty, that like, ooh, that's new kind of feeling. They want to explore in all the different blueprints. So like Tiffany said, like I need quality time. I need to like pamper myself first. I need to connect with my partner. I need to explore the kinky bits and the sensual side. And like, it's a whole blend of things. Primarily shapeshifters want creativity, novelty, and variety. sometimes I say it's like reading a good book where like each time you turn the page, it's like, ooh, new adventure. And sometimes that can happen very fast. When I first became a shapeshifter, I was like, wow, I want things to change like every 10 seconds. And is that okay? So to backtrack of what the other blueprints are, the sensual blueprint wants all of their senses to be ignited. So when Tiffany was saying, like, we were kissing, like finding and kissing different areas around the whole body that could be like erogenous zones, that's totally a sensual endeavor, because sensuals love a full body experience. They love their body to be prepared beforehand so that everything smells good, feels good, looks good, and they probably relaxed as they were preparing their body. Like taking a shower, and Tiffany said like putting on music, and maybe like that's like when you're in the shower and you're like, I'm getting ready for a hot day. Yeah. And then you have that moment of like, oh my gosh, best idea ever. Anyone else here have shower like lightning strike you where you have like the moment of wisdom? Okay, I almost said the erogenous blueprint. That's a different thing. They're all that. The energetic blueprint is turned on by space, meaning like the proximity being safe enough to their nervous system to feel like there's spaciousness between the proximity of you and the other person. So taking things nice and slow so that there's safety built in, having lots of connection, breath, eye contact, those all signal safety. And they are super turned on by anticipation. So the more slowly and connected things are, the more they're like, I'm ready to pounce. Let me do this. Sexual blueprint is very simple and straightforward in the most magical way. They can just like rip off their clothes and go for it. Or in self-pleasure, they are going straight for their genitals because that is the first place of turn on for them. And then kinky is exploring intensity and taboo, and the taboo is whatever you consider taboo. So anything that you're like, oh my gosh, like shocking, like no way, that could be considered taboo. It also could be the like, wow, I never expected that, or that's out of place, or like I shouldn't be doing this. It can be psychologically taboo, or taboo in sensation. Like, ooh, when someone like claws my body with their fingernails, like something about that feels really edgy, and turn on shows up.
Yeah.
So those are all the blueprints. You can kind of begin to identify what your needs are from that, of like, oh, I remember these times. Or you can play with those things and kind of do the A/B game, like Tiffany was saying, where you're like, maybe I do like anticipation, so I'll try like anticipatory type touch. And then for like sensual, maybe I will like smell my favorite perfume and see if I like stroking that on my body. Which did I like more? So testing those different blueprints on yourself, on your body, and like Tiffany said, listening to where it wants to go. And then at the end being like, in post bliss, you get to be like, wait, what did I just do? That was so awesome.
I love that. I love like debriefing after sex. So much fun. You're like, oh, we did this and that was really hot. And what about this? And oh my gosh, like, yeah. Oh, so good. And then you can like find out, especially, you know, like you can do that by yourself too, but also with a partner, like, you know, finding out like what was really hot to them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's actually already building the anticipation for the next one. So like the energetic piece, that's like, I love that so much. I'm like, ooh, now I know it's that like new thing that they like and I can incorporate it. And yeah, so you can just keep it going. Love it.
I love doing that because it's almost like my memory takes a filing cabinet and captures that thing that was super duper hot that my partner was like, oh, I loved when you did this. That it goes like, yoink, and it puts it into my memory filing cabinet of all the hot things that exist for my partner. Yeah. And sometimes they accidentally get thrown into the recycling bin, but then you just have more room for creativity to discover more.
Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes it's like you forget all about it until something happens. And then, so I had a partner that we couldn't see each other for a while because of COVID. And we decided, it was like the sweetest. We decided to go back to like meet up again for the first time, like back where we first met at the park. And we like pretended that we didn't know each other. And like, you know, like it was such a beautiful, and that was after mono. So also we hadn't kissed. So it was like such a beautiful thing to like create that like that anticipation, but also there was like an element of kink to it. Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. And I did want to say one thing about the kink thing that I just discovered, Jessie, is I've discovered that if I am making something, so I've, you know, recently kind of gotten into this, like, not kind of, I've recently gotten into a dom sub dynamic where I'm doming, and it's so fun for me. But I realized it's like if I'm causing something to happen, right? So like if a partner is like, oh my gosh, I was just self-pleasuring and it was like I had like super intense, like I was thinking of you and I just had this like super intense orgasm, or like if I if I design like a punishment and then I get a video of that punishment, I'm like, I made that happen, right? And so yeah, so it's kind of this cool, like you can kind of also get curious about like power dynamics and all of that in kink. And it was surprising to me the way that it shows up for me in this like, I just love the like knowing, like I'm not really that into like visual, like porn doesn't really, but if someone sends me like an audio or a visual of them, like because of me, I'm like, oh, so good.
I am so delighted that you have like entered into this new space. Like when Tiffany and I first started, I think that the one desire that you had many desires, but you were like a brand new, fresh, like divorced babe. And never once were you like, yes, I'd like to become a dominatrix. Yes. You said like, oh, I think that I would like, or I'm curious about like dating multiple people. Maybe that could be something in my future. And I think with your willingness and with your curiosity and with our coaching, like it was like, bye. And each time you would come back being like, oh my gosh, like I had this most amazing experience.
Yeah. So I love that we always celebrated wins. Like it would always, I'd be like, oh yeah, all these things happen. And the thing is like for those that are watching, like it's not like every moment was perfect. I definitely had moments where I judged myself. I definitely had moments where I didn't feel like doing any of the homework. Like I definitely had moments where I would like, I remember I had this like weeks. I had weeks of like no, like I didn't feel inspired, like no self-pleasuring was like doing it for me, like nothing. I just was like so frustrated. And you know, and I just had to be like, okay, body, like this is where I'm at. But yeah, I do feel like with having the support, that really made a huge difference. And the commitment, right? Of like, okay, this is something I want for myself and I need to make it a priority and I deserve for it to be a priority, right? Yeah, so good. But yes, I'm so thrilled to be, so I've been monogamous, you know, I mean, I was monogamous in my monogamous relationship. There were periods in my life where I was not committed to anyone, you know, but like I've never been I consider myself solo polyamory. I've never been in like a consensual non-monogamy situation. And it's so beautiful because I do get to explore, you know, I have my lover that I see most often, and we have very like an emotionally bonded relationship and, you know, great sex and really enjoy that part of our life too, but we don't necessarily explore the kink stuff as much. And then I have like more of a lover friend and we explore more kink stuff. And then I have like my dom, you know, joint doming relationship. And so it's so nice to know that like I get to explore all of those pieces of me and I have that freedom, you know, and my partners have that freedom too. Like they can, you know, if they have things that I'm not into, they can explore. And I know that's not for everyone. Like I've had to do a lot of work around like attachment style. There's a book called Polysecure that is blowing my mind right now. It's so good. And I mean, even if you're monogamous, like I recommend that book for anyone. It has been really, really helpful in terms of like creating that secure attachment so that, so that I can feel safe to like do all of this exploration. Right. But yeah, and it's the beautiful thing for me in my life right now, my sex life is like, I really was starting like from the ground up. Right. And so I got to design it however I wanted. And there's nothing that is, like nothing's off the table. There's nothing that is not possible. It's just like listening to myself and then that creativity and that curiosity, like you're talking about. And then with that, it's like anything is possible. So, yeah.
I also just want to highlight that like this was also done during, a lot of it was done during COVID, and that this is for people that have been like, I'm going to be single until COVID is done, or I'm going to be single because how do I meet anyone right now? I just want you to know that Tiffany has been on many safe dates and has many safe containers set up and protocols set up with her partners. And so, yes, it is possible for you.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, I'm a nurse. Like I take COVID very seriously, and I only see people that also take COVID very seriously. And it's, like initially it was like, okay, let's go, let's get to know each other on the phone and let's have Zoom dates, and then let's wear masks and go for a walk and see how that goes. And then if that's all good, and still like and doing like the stars talk. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's about like looking at like STIs and relationship expectations. It's really helpful. There's a TED Talk about it. We did the stars talk like before we ever even met up, because like what if like and so I got super discerning, and and that's been really great. And I'm not dating anymore because we've had the surge, and I've got my people, and nobody wants to take any unnecessary risks. But yeah, like one of my partners is long distance, and like we're having to explore like, okay, how do we do this? So we have like spreadsheets, and we text a lot, and we have a lot of long phone calls, and we like we send each other sex toys, and like like we're just we're super creative about it, and that's just how we are handling it right now until we can see each other in person. So so it's opened up a lot, actually.
Thank you for sharing. I got very sidetracked as soon as you said sending sex toys, and
I can tell you guys one of the sex toys.
Yeah, please tell us about like a favorite sex toy that's entered your life.
Well,
or that you've sent away.
Oh yeah. Well, this one, it actually hasn't entered my life yet, but it's called Clone a Willy.
Yes.
And it's actually they're like in Portland, right? And so that was a gift. Like I sent that gift to them.
Explain, like for people that are like, wait, you what?
You make a silicone mold of your penis if you have a penis, and you can also do it of your vulva, but like it's not the same. It's not functional the way that the penises are. And you can actually you can make one so that you can insert a vibrator. And so that for like people who are long distance, or even just like if you travel, or if you want to make your partner give themselves a blowjob, or whatever. So, I sent him two. So one's going to be for me and one's going to be for him.
Oh my goodness. Also, like if you just really admire your person's cock, like you're like, oh, there's all these functions, and I was like, what if you just want like a shrine of it, like.
Yeah. And you can, like you can totally choose the color, and you can like, some of them glow in the dark. Like it's so much fun.
Evolved. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, fun. There's all kinds of things you can do when you get creative.
Yeah. Someone said, what are your spreadsheets with your long distance friend? Will you say a little bit more about that is?
I mean, that's the dom relationship. So I choose how many hours a day they wear a chastity cage. I choose how many times they have to edge in a day, how many ruined orgasms.
Wait. Definition, please, just for
of the ruined orgasms or edging.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So orgasm control. So this is one of the things that I've discovered about myself is that I'm super into orgasm control. That's like the umbrella. And so that it's like telling your partner when they can have an orgasm. It's like things like edging, right? Like you can't yet. It's things like so ruined orgasms would be like you make the person or they make themselves get to the point of no return. So they're going to have an orgasm, but then all sensation has to stop or some negative sensation is given so that the orgasm isn't actually pleasure. I'm terrible. It's making me smile because I go into it. So the orgasm's like not actually pleasurable.
Do you mean the orgasm or the like post-orgasm effects?
No, like it kind of ruin, like have you ever had the experience of like you're almost there and then like you're gonna have an orgasm anyway, but then like somebody knocks on the door or you drop something, like you drop your phone on yourself or like and it just like it makes it so that it's like no fun. Yeah. So that's the point of it, is to make it like no fun. And then the thing is, like once they're allowed to have a pleasurable orgasm, then it's like super great, right? And so then, and also like post-orgasm torture. So like after someone has an orgasm, they're super sensitive. And if you continue sensation, it can be really intense. And so that was something I discovered that I was like, I'm super into this. And so the spreadsheet includes all of those things. Sometimes it's things like, other kind of punishments or like, they have to like words that they have to work into conversation, like juicy or something.
I love that.
So, and then I have a spreadsheet with another partner that we need to like dust off where it was like things that we wanted to try. And it included like things that I wanted to give and things I wanted to receive and things he wanted to give and things he wanted to receive. Cause I had so many ideas that I was just like, I want to do all the things. And we didn't, like, there's a real life limited amount of time that you can spend. So like, that way I didn't like lose track of anything. And that was also really fun for that anticipation and desire part.
Yum. And that's also just for anyone that is like, I'm solo, like what would a spreadsheet do for me? Like, first of all, you have to be attracted to spreadsheets.
I'm a total spreadsheet nerd. Yeah, I love them.
If you are a spreadsheet nerd, like you could start with making a list of your desires. Like, I desire to play with feathers on my body. One time I want to take a bath and like see what masturbating in the bath is like. I want to dance and see like how much arousal dance can bring up. Like all of the things that you possibly could imagine. Put those activities, and then one at a time, whatever you feel called to do, like try them out, report back of like what was awesome, like whether or not you want to keep doing that, whether or not you don't need to ever again, what would have made it better. You can track your sex life in so many different ways. I find that the people that I interviewed tend to have spreadsheets as well.
I wonder what that says about you, Jessie, that you attract people who want sexy spreadsheets.
Yeah, right? Oh, it's so great. Okay, if there's any other questions, please let us know. We're going to start wrapping up. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us and for spreading that possibility for others. Will you let people know if they want to, like, if they're like, what intuitive eating? Like, what is, I want to heal that. Like my relationship to food. How would they find you or follow you?
Yeah. So it's Coach Tiffany RN, like registered nurse, Coach Tiffany RN, on like that's my Facebook and my Instagram. Although Instagram is mostly pictures of trees at this point, but, and then my website is also coachtiffanyrn.com. And so, happy to talk about it. It has been transformational for me. And actually, there's a woman doing a study about intuitive eating and sex drives and how, does intuitive eating increase your sex drive? And I was like mind blown. Like it absolutely did for me, but I didn't think about that. Right. And I feel like intuitive eating was a huge piece of like embracing myself and made it really possible to do this work. And I think the cool thing about like accepting yourself and embracing yourself is you can do it from all these any kind of angle, right? But the fun part about doing it in this playground is like so much pleasure, right? Like how there's so many ways that all that pleasure like benefits you in other areas of your life. And I feel like I have so much more confidence and all of that. So yeah, so I mean, however you go about it, like I'm all about self-acceptance and radical self-love and yeah. And so thank you, Jessie, so much for everything that you've done for me. Like, I feel like if I had not invested in coaching, like I knew I didn't want to get stuck where I was at, but it definitely was. And we worked together, I think it's been like, well, we started, pre-pandemic. So it's been almost a year, right? Yeah. So Valentine's Day was when we met in person. And so it's 11 months to the day. And oh my gosh. Yes. I'm going to have to do some like homage to like the blueprint testing on Valentine's Day, I think now.
Yes.
I'm going to be with my lover. And so we'll have to do something fun. But I feel like in that 11 months, like I had so like rapid transformation and it was so much more fun. And I was able to like really celebrate my wins and continue making it a priority and see possibilities sometimes, like when I had mono and I was so frustrated, like, you were able to like help me see the possibility in that. And then it ended up being incredible. Right. So yeah, and it really helped me with my healing. It helped me with the creativity and embracing that shapeshifter part of myself because, in my last partnership, that partner was primarily sexual and didn't really want to like try a lot of things. And I feel like I just didn't know, like doming would have never been like in the realm of possibility, right? Or even like, like making out to the point of orgasm would have never been in the realm of possibility. So yeah, it just really opened up the possibilities for me and helped catalyze that transformation for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I want to just emphasize like the whole idea of hiring a coach in your life in any area, like say you need a business coach or you think you need guidance with business or you need a health coach or you need a sex coach or a life coach. The main concept of having a coach is that they are going to be like team working with you to make sure that you reach your goals in a very specific amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think that sex coaching is such a new idea to a lot of people that they're like, what the heck is that anyway? It's not therapy. It is you setting goals with someone that is very knowledgeable, that has been there before, that's going, okay, hold my hand. We're going to come this way. Some parts are going to be awesome. Some parts are going to be a little scary. And like when they're scary, I'll help you as well. And you're not alone in that. And when you get off track, like I'll steer you back on track. So thank you so much for explaining that and making that very clear.
Yeah.
So before we go, I just want to urge people that are like, like, could this be possible for me? Yes, it completely can be. It's up to you whether or not you want to make any change in your life. And Tiffany got these great results working with me one-on-one, very catered and private. And I invite you to have a conversation with me to see if this is a good fit for you. And I'm also beginning a pleasure mastery group coaching course that I think Tiffany is also going to join in and kind of be like a mentor in a sense, but also just joining to do the next evolution of Tiffany's pleasure mastery. And that is beginning in February. So I'm going to put a link in our private group. That group is specifically for people that identify as women. I'll be taking 12 women through that same process that I've taken Tiffany through and through my with my private clients as well. So I'll put that in here. I'm excited to talk with you all. And I'm excited for you all to meet your sex life with curiosity and to like try out those new creative things and to be willing to explore like Tiffany has inspired. Okay.
I can't wait for pleasure mastery.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Thank you all so much. I don't see any questions. So we'll say goodbye. Okay. Bye, everybody. Yay.